our men period tend to suffer in silence, but particularly
Yes,
our black
absolutely,
men.
100%. And my condolences again, first of all.
Thank
That's
you.
as you're going through your process, and like that's real.
Mm,
I will say, like, black men, we do suffer in silence. That's
mm,
100% accurate because, a lot of the stuff that we inherit is really supposed to be normal. We talk about like, trauma, traumas that we, I have this term, it's called like unnecessary normals, right?
okay.
So unnecessary normals are usually like, you think about like police brutality.
Mm,
I'm from California, so it's more like gang violence,
mm.
like certain hats you can't wear. I was out and about one day and they was like, why are you dressed like that? And I was like, well, I'm so used to being in LA, I'm just wearing neutral colors, So there's a
Oh,
lot you have to wear out here, like, Houston Astros, that's like a
yeah.
whole hood in LA. So it's like,
Oh,
so I'm already conditioned, like, when I was, and then another thing I had to kind of get used to even moving out here was, the unnecessary normals, the trauma, the things
mm,
I experienced was, a lot of black men being together and nothing's popping off. Like everybody's getting along, and
yeah.
that's something to get
Oh,
used to. But going back to like, that's an example of like the trauma. But going back to stress, like, yeah, we a lot of us do suffer in silence because it's normal for us to be stressed out. It's normal for us to have high blood pressure, not necessarily always because of what we eat, but like what we internally consume.
yeah.
Internal consumption is really big, and that's why you're talking about the mind, body, and soul. Is
Mm,
it's not always about like our diet, but like what are your thoughts? What are you consuming as far as like what
yes.
do you like? How are you processing that?
Mm,
Because it all that stuff. We were talking about the book, The Body Keeps Score.
yeah.
All that stuff internalizes in you, and will eventually lead to physical symptoms.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I 100% agree, and a lot of us don't know how to relieve our stress because
Yeah.
it's so normalized. Absolutely.
Unnecessary normals,
Unnecessary
like that is
normals.
going to stick with me.
Mm-hmm.
And just the way, so I'm even just thinking about just how we store cortisol and just are always on edge. Like I could not imagine your lived human experience being like, okay, there are a group of people who look like me and
Mm-hmm.
have my same gender experience, and violence could erupt because we're
Yeah,
all together.
absolutely.
And so what does that do even for how you carry that
Mm-hmm.
stress in your body
Yep.
as you go along?
Yeah.
It just so with our black men, with these unnecessary normals,
Mm-hmm.
right, of it, we can call it what it is, police brutality, and watching basically murders
Yeah.
on television, and just
Mm-hmm.
what that does without even realizing the implications of that.
Mm-hmm.
um, what stops our black men from seeking mental health support? What are some barriers?
Well, one, it's not, we talk about unnecessary normals. Now let's talk about like what should be normal is us seeking help.
Yeah.
So it's not normal for black men to go to therapy when they're feeling stressed out or feeling overwhelmed.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of barriers with that. I wouldn't say it's not black men's fault that we don't seek help. It's a systemic issue. We have historically been pretty much castricized through the medical field.
Hmm.
Like we've been through the ringer, like even going back to the Tuskegee experiment, and
Hmm.
the study with syphilis, and that in itself is a whole setup of like, okay, do we trust medical professionals? Do
Yeah.
we trust people that we are supposed to go to when we're supposed
Mm.
to get help?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a whole mentality of black men actually trusting the medical field and knowing that mental health is a medical service as well too, right?
Yes. Mental health is health.
Absolutely,
Hmm.
100%. So there's a whole barrier with that. Then also access to care. So let's talk about um, not even mental health, but physical health, and how they both coexist, and
Hmm.
how you actually may need medical insurance to pay for all these things, right?
Right.
A lot of folks may not have medical insurance or proper
Hmm.
medical insurance, or if you're getting medical insurance from the government, there's a whole ringer you have to go through to get a therapist.
Hmm.
And what does that do to people who really need the help, right? It turns them off to actually go through with the help.
Yeah.
So there's a whole different side of black men seeking mental health as opposed to anybody else, because there's so many different stigmas around it that
Hmm.
we have to navigate because of the people that we are, and
Yeah.
the systems that we live
Yeah, right,
in.
right, and just so much on your shoulders,
Hmm.
so much on your